lenders are giving borrowers money to walk away. They're like, you know what? We don't want to be in litigation with you for 2 years. We'll give you $1 million to walk away. We'll give you $2 million to walk away. And Joe, the one that has 19 projects, is now like, look, I took 2 from here. I took 2 from there. I took 3
I'm
from
up
here.
$40 million, baby.
I'm up $40 million. And you might think that that's not what's happening. That is exactly what is happening. Because every mediation, arbitration, litigation that we're in, if you have good, competent counsel,
The banks can lose.
the banks can lose.
And lose big.
And they could lose big, especially I also have a client that has a portfolio with the bank, 2, 3 loans, 4 loans, and they're at the mercy of the borrower.
So how many developers are going through this right now? How many of 100
I would
clients?
say probably 1 in 4 are going through this, about 25, 30%. And that's a lot, guys. That is a lot because that tanks the market. And that's why you're feeling this sludge. You guys are talking about interest rates. You guys are talking about 421As. I've been listening very, very carefully for the past 45 minutes about what the capital market, the broker and the developer are thinking. But the insight from the restructurist is very, very real. That's why I don't think it's going to be 2 quarters. I don't think it's going to be 4 quarters. I think it's going to be 6 to 8 quarters because everybody's realizing they have to default on their loans. Again, there is an appropriate time. There's an appropriate method. And I want to be very clear to our audience that defaulting on your obligations is not a good thing.
It's not legal advice either.
It's not. But what I'm saying is people are taking advantage of the market, or maybe they're not taking advantage of it. Maybe, Bob, they're just dealing with it. They're dealing with the market as it comes.
I think it is, by the way. I think people are just dealing with it. They don't. By the way, and a lot of developers or litigators, they don't know how to deal with it.
Well, it's a dance. It's a dance between the lender and the borrower, and the lender is very, very tough, but the borrower is becoming smarter. It's better to be a smart borrower that's in default than be a silly borrower that doesn't have a way out. And the only way to do it is actually to have a capital advisor, a broker, another developer with another ear. Another thing for borrowers and developers, and even lenders, know what your asset is worth. And that's why we have Bob. We're working on a matter with Bob right now. It's a stalled condo project, I believe, 66 units. We're going to have Bob at that mediation because the lender needs to understand what the value of that asset is.
So you know what they're doing now? Lenders are actually requiring in meetings with their board advisory team. So do you bring not only your architect, your contractor, your broker, developer, and investors pre-construction lending?
That's interesting. Tell us more about that.
So you're going to get a $20 million construction loan. You got a term sheet signed. Everything's about to be said and done. You submitted all your rental fallbacks, your condo scenarios. You submitted all your expenses, your timeline, your projection. You give them your Gantt chart, meaning everything outlined with the specifications of the model numbers, right? They say we'd like to have a page turn meeting, contractor, architect, personal guarantee guys who are your investors, developer, and the whole board present.
I think he's right. I think that moving forward into 2024, the future of development is going to be a closer affair with the lender and the borrower. I think just like in 2008, the lenders became extremely cautious with their lending practices. I think the lender and the borrower are going to go through a sludge match, 2, 3, or 4 or 5 quarters, and then they're going to realize we're actually in this together.
Can I just touch on that for a second?
Of course.
I got to run out. I just want to...
we got another minute and a half, boys.
I just want to touch on something because it's not as often. We got litigator, we got capital infusion guy, and we have...
Broker.
I don't want to call him a broker.
Broker advisor.
He's more than a broker. It's Bob Knackel, but we could say broker.
And we have the developer.
The only person that we need to be really putting the pressure on is the individual that's structuring the deal. And we need to do so tactically. There's a strategy. Like, I love what you're saying. You need to call Bob and say, hey, Bob, I'm buying this development site. What can I get price per square foot if I need to fire sale? Call Eric. Hey, Eric, I need to know what's my capital going to cost me on a preferred, on a mezz. I need to understand that if tomorrow things go bad because force majeure, war, COVID, rates go up. Like, we've seen everything in the last 5 years. What can I get? Can we get somebody to replace my position? Call the litigator and say, okay, all my bells and whistles are in. I got a term sheet from the bank. What can I sign and what shouldn't I sign in the event I default?
Right.
And when you do these things in a strategical manner, and you do you're doing your due diligence, construction and architecture.
Of course.
And you're doing your primary research on who's buying. You sync those things together. Tomorrow, you don't have to guess. Am I buying? Am I selling? Am I going to default? What about the buildings in Manhattan that are being bought by $250, $260 million? The loans are maturing today. They're not getting rid of them for $150 million?
50 million? 35 million?
Yeah, listen, human nature is short-term thinking. There will not be that kind of due diligence.
But I'll tell you something.
Guarantee you that
Well,
in a year.
We're talking in this podcast, and we've been talking about these themes for so long already. It's been a year since we've been talking about these themes. Believe it or not, this information is not accessible to the public.
To the average guy, for sure.
To the average guy, even to the astute, really, really smart investor, they don't know these things.
Yeah,
they've been. I had a client intake. It was a Persian Jewish developer. I'm talking about billions of dollars, and he for the first time didn't know what to do with one of his buildings, but he was extremely out of touch with the market. And the same goes for a Greek developer that I was speaking to. It doesn't matter. Distress is agnostic to your religion.
Doesn't have religion.
It doesn't have religion, ethnicity, nothing. But a lot of what we're talking about, people are not aware of, and they should be educated about it. I mean, we don't have too much time. It's been an hour since we've been on the show. Jacob, I want to thank everybody for being here.
Yes, sir.
Richie, thank you so much. Bob, it's a pleasure as always.
My
Eric,
pleasure.
it's a pleasure as always.
What a
Until
dream
next
team.
time.
Yo, if there was an all-star game, this would be the dream team.
This would be the dream team.
The dream team had 5. This is 4.
Any last moments? Any last things that you guys want to say? Please, Eric. Good.
No, just thank you for having. You're up to a bunch of shows now. It's amazing.
Yes.
And I know that I am cautiously optimistic for 2024 and 2025 in New York City. I think that we've sludged through the bottom and the swamp long enough. It's time to rise again.
Yes, it is. And Bob, what your thoughts are? Really, what your thoughts are on the development field? How it's going to be moving forward? Tell us a little bit about that.
I think there's still a lot of pain to go through, but what I tell people to feel better is that the market always has been, is, and always will be cyclical. It will come back, and good times are ahead.
That's right.
But nobody knows when. We just have to take it one day at a time, and I think you're going to be busy for a while.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you, everybody.